If you think I'm evil, well, just wait till you meet my variants.
What is going on, everyone, and welcome back to my channel. My name is Elliot and this is Movie Files, and today we are here to discuss the ending and breaking down the mid and post-credit scenes of Ant-Man and the Wasp Quantumania. Now, as I'm recording this video, the film isn't doing too great critically, but I think we can all acknowledge that the ending of the movie and both the mid and post-credit scenes are not only extremely important to this new current phase of the MCU, but it will be very important to Phase 6 in a very major way. Now, I don't want to take up too much of your time, but before we get into the breakdown, let's start the conversation in the comments below. I have both a spoiler-free review and a spoiler discussion, which you all can find in the description of this very video, but let me know briefly in the comments, what did you all like or dislike about this film, but also, more importantly, what did you think about the ending and what it can mean for Scott Lang and the Ant-Man family, and also those two huge post-credit scenes. What did you all think about it, what it can mean for the MCU moving forward? Let's talk about that in the comment section. And if you all enjoyed my breakdown today, consider hitting that thumbs up button, consider sharing this video. We got a breakdown to cover today, full spoilers ahead. Before we get into the ending, let's summarize the film. As we see in the movie, the Ant-Man family finding themselves trapped in the quantum realm after Cassie's quantum finder, which was helped created by Hope and Hank, ends up malfunctioning, sending them all to the quantum realm. Now, split into two different groups, we see Scott and Cassie coming across freedom fighters who's lost everything due to Kang the Conqueror. Meanwhile, we have Hope and Hank trying to find them, but also they're trying to figure out who is it that Janet's so afraid of when she was here in the quantum realm. Now, after being hunted and taken in by Kang's hunter, aka MODOK, we see Kang threatens to take Cassie's life if Scott doesn't agree to retrieve his multiversal engine for his timeshare. Now, in the comics, this share is a very advanced technology used by Kang the Conqueror to travel back in time anywhere he wishes. Now, in this film, we see that it ends up being destroyed by the Pym particles by Janet after she links to his mind and she discovers he's actually a conqueror back when they first met. We see Scott does manage to retrieve this engine with the help of Hope, but Kang doesn't hold his end to the bargain and betrays Scott, leaving them to waging a war against Kang as well as saving Cassie, and they get the help of those same freedom fighters. And we also see Cassie now become a stature as he's a giant-sized Cassie, and we also have Hank helping out with his super intelligent ants as they are able to temporarily manage to take down Kang the Conqueror. As we approach the end of the film, let me know if you all think that we saw Kang the Conqueror appearing to have been killed after being kicked in the ship's multiversal engine by Hope while it was collapsing due to Scott hitting it with those Pym particles. Now, Cassie ends up rescuing Scott and Hope from being stranded in the quantum realm, and we end with seeing Scott back in his normal happy life with his family as he begins to start to think about what Kang said to him, and he has this crisis in regards to something bad coming to this Earth of 616, and everyone will end up dying if Kang didn't end up getting out of the quantum realm. So what does that ending mean for me? What will we see Scott do with this information? I hope one or two things happens. Number one, will we see him keep this to himself, or will he try to warn the others? I hope that we get to see Scott tell maybe the new Captain America, for they can get the band together and create this new team of Avengers, or maybe we will see Scott telling his family, and we'll see Cassie taking this information with her new set of powers, and maybe she will be one of the creators of the West Coast Avengers, and that's how that team can be potentially created. What would you all like to see? Let me know in the comments, but let's take a brief detour on some of the theories I had going into this film before seeing it. Now, number one, after seeing that first official trailer, I was certain that it was going to be revealed that Kang's timeshare was going to be made up of Shang-Chi's 10 rings as well as Kamala Khan's bangles. Now, I still think they're going to explore those artifacts in the MCU moving forward, but I was surprised that they didn't really acknowledge that in this particular film. Let me know what you all thought about that element, but also, for the longest time, I was in the camp that we were going to probably get the Fantastic Four because we know them as explorers, and I thought it was going to be maybe revealed in this film that they have been trapped in the quantum realm, and they were going to help out and take out Kang, but sadly that wasn't the case. But I am very sure that we're going to see Fantastic Four and Kang sharing the screen sometime within the next few years, especially knowing that in the comics, Kang starting off as Nathaniel Richards, and he also has connections in the comics to Reed Richards and also Dune. So I'm pretty sure we're going to see those connections happen sooner rather than later. But in the comment section, let me know if you all were maybe slightly disappointed for the lack of the presence of the Fantastic Four, the acknowledgments of the 10 rings or the bangles, and the lack of cameos. Was that something you all were looking forward to and we didn't get in this film? Let's have those conversations in the comments below. But that brings us into talking about the first mid-credit scene. Let's break it down. We open the scene with a council of Kangs gathering, discussing how the Kang they exiled had been killed. Now, in this scene, we see them being led by Immortus as well as Ramatot, and I think this was possibly a version of the Scarlet Centurion, but he didn't have the red like he has in the comics. So let me know if you all think that that's who that was in the scene. But breaking it more down, they are not happy that their exile variant was killed by the others, referring to the Avengers in the 616, and they vow to bring war to the 616 and kill all the people involved, which to me is just so incredible to think of. But we see them calling the other Kangs for support in preparation to get this plan in place, and the scene ends with them in a Coliseum with a bunch of Kang variants. And I'm gonna have to see the movie again. I've only seen it once at this point, but I'm pretty sure I saw like a scroll variant version of Kang, which to me might lead into the Marvel's Secret Invasion TV show. But let's talk about this a little bit further and breaking it down. Those that aren't too familiar with these Kang variants, let's break them down. So starting off with Immortus, who's known as the Master of Time in the comics, a Kang variant who is tired of fighting and losing his loved ones in the multiple timelines. This version of Kang decided to give up his life as Kang in order to serve as a timekeeper, which I find to be very interesting. Moving on to my personal favorite, and that is Ramatot, who first appeared in the 1963 Fantastic Four issue 19. Now, this version was created on his first trip through time as Kang decided to go to ancient Egypt. Upon his arrival, Kang used his advanced weapons and robots to take over. He then eventually gained control of the Egyptians as he was known as the Pharaoh Ramatot. Now, Kang spent much time in ancient Egypt and he's searching for the fable in Sumernora, aka Apocalypse. Now, in Moon Knight, if you all remember, they had a subtle reference to Ramatot in episode 3 when we had the scene of Mark fighting one of Arthur's followers, and you'll see on the screen now there was a symbol on the jacket of that character. So lastly, that brings us to the third Kang variant, who, like I said, I believe is a Scarlet, minus the red looking design that we get in the comics. And in the comic books, this particular Kang came across Dune. Now, Dune inspired this particular Kang with his look and his presence and his regalness, and Kang created this new outfit based on Dune. So I think that would be really awesome if we can see those particular connections moving forward in the MCU. But the thing I loved about this first mid-credit scene is it's literally taken right out of the comic books. I believe it was the Avengers issue 292, but more importantly, tying it to the MCU. If you all remember the three of those Kangs in that scene in Loki's finale where we saw a statue was missing, maybe our Kang the Conqueror was that particular statue that was exiled and explains that particular scene. Let me know your thoughts on that in the comments below. But also, just seeing all those Kangs showing up, just showing you how often he time travels and creating his endless duplicates of themselves. To me, it's just what makes Kang so special. But speaking of Kang, let's talk about Jonathan Majors. It is going to be so great to see him playing all these variant versions and just being able to show off his acting sensibilities. I think it's going to be so exciting. But also, the idea that it was Sylvie that unleashed these Kangs and Loki.
See you soon.
Which is a perfect segue into talking about that post-credit scene number 2, which, breaking down that scene, we're somewhere in the 1900s and we see a stage and we're introduced to Victory Timely as he's making a presentation to the audience. Now, in the crowd, we are watching Victor on stage and we see Loki looking terrified as well as Mobius looking confused, telling Loki he doesn't look that scary. As we know, what Loki knows is a very scary person to be be afraid of. But let's briefly talk about who this Victor Timely is in the comics, as this is a person that Kang created in a human form in order to observe the age of the heroes. His goal was to conquer the modern time and set up a home base in the town of Timely, Wisconsin. He ended up developing different businesses and corporations that lasted for decades, and he became the leader of the robotics technology. Now, Kang used these robots when he wasn't around to maintain the illusion, while he ended up having kids over the years who end up also becoming Kang. So I love this scene so much because if you all don't know, Loki is my favorite Disney Plus show, and I would love to see this type of crossover between the Ant-Man family. As of right now, they're the only two sets of characters that are aware of Kang, and I would love to see Hank Pym talking to Loki, Scott talking to Loki, Sylvie getting in the mix. I think that would be just golden interaction between those characters. So wrapping it all up, these post-credit scenes to me were probably some of my favorite that I've seen in the MCU, because it actually ties into not only the narrative that we just saw from the film, but also leads into the next set of projects. I think that these post-credit scenes will tie into Secret Invasions. This post-credit scene was probably a scene literally taken out of Loki, and I'm just so excited to see where this all goes, because I think, again, while the film might not be critically praised and I have my issues with the movie, I think it's important not only to this phase, but overall to the multiversal saga. So that's my thoughts on the ending, the mid-credit scene, post-credit scene. But now this is your turn to let me know what you all thought in the comment section. Again, let me know what you liked or maybe disliked about the film. But again, diving deeper into the ending, Scott Lang, his family, moving forward in the MCU. Will Scott keep this information, or will he tell it to the new Captain America? Will he tell it to Cassie to create the West Coast Avengers? But again, seeing those variants of Kang taking their war to the 616, also Loki season 2, I cannot wait to see that. Let me know your thoughts in the comments. If you stuck around to this point in the video, I appreciate every single one of you all. Just a friendly reminder before we leave this video to like, share, comment, and consider subscribing to the channel and hitting that notification bell. You all have been awesome, as you all can see on the screen now. Check out my spoiler discussion for this video. Check out all my MCU content. You all have been great. We'll catch you all on the next breakdown.